When I saw the first episode of this anime, at the time I actually thought about dropping the show because from that episode alone, the story writing wasn't anything that catches my interest and the animation wasn't impressive either, but it was serviceable, that's for sure. So I decided I'll give it one more episode, and if episode 2 doesn't do it for me, I'll bow out of this show and move on. At least that was the idea. Well, it's now episode 6, I've never dropped the show, so what happened? Animation wise, as I've said earlier, it's not impressive, and most of the time, you'll be thinking to yourself that the studio could have done so much better in depicting the story. But the thing is, in spite of the not so high quality animation, the animation never once offended me. And the quality as it is, it never soured my experience of the show. So you're probably asking why that is so. Well, the story of this anime, while it's not something that innovates or introduces novelties that would make it stand out in comparison to other anime, it is the kind of story that I could get behind without any problem. It's a simple story of a young woman who likes making magical devices, and her talent in the craft was influenced by her past life, of which was more technologically advanced than her current life is. Like, sure, we had a bit of a rough start because some idiot named Tobias had to hurt Dahlia with the breakdown of their arranged marriage, but I can't shake off the feeling that I just want to watch Dahlia have a happy life. Like, I don't think Dahlia's story is going to be anything flashy like most anime have with their gimmicks and whatnot, but I just love the idea that her story is simple, with little to no egregious events apart from the Tobias matter, and most of what happens in the story is handled with maturity, which is actually something you often don't see as a core feature of the story. I've been watching like 7 other anime this season, and I'll say this. So, these 7 characters aside from Dahlia are, in my opinion, the best girl of their respective series. And to clarify, when I say best girl, I don't necessarily mean it in a romantic sense, just that they're my favorite in a general sense. And of these 8 characters, I actually like Dahlia the most out of these 8. And if you'll ask me why I like her the most, for starters, she's an adult. The rest are not. One could argue that Mina is an adult, but that's an entirely different debate since it concerns robot consciousness. So going back, by virtue of being an adult, Dahlia's obviously the most mature of them all. I'm an adult myself, and while these other shows are fun to watch, I will always be partial to fellow adults. Also, what I like about Dahlia that the others don't have is that she's quite nuanced with her actions, is easygoing as a result, and is quite moderate in the sense that you don't see her doing acts that is extreme to any degree. Well, except for her magical device making, but outside of that, that's just her being so much of a nerd. The point is, she's an adult and her maturity made her be like this, and I like that very much so. There's also Wolf here, who's just some guy who didn't ask to be too handsome and is essentially a nerd when it comes to weapons, and is overall just a great guy with a kind disposition. I don't doubt that he and Dahlia will eventually fall for each other someday, and honestly, I actually like that it's looking like their romance is going to be a slow burn. The kind where they'll just realize that they like each other by the time everyone else is dying to see them get married. So, yeah, all things considered, not stellar animation, but we have a female lead in Dahlia who is a nerd for magical devices and has the qualities that make her very likable. We have Wolf, who complements her nerdiness and is as much of a kind person as well. And let's not forget, they're surrounded by people who are just as nice and mature, with some being friends of Dahlia's late father. It's a simple story, and honestly, this anime is the one I'm cheering for the most this season. So yeah, that's about it for me. Until next time, Deadlands.